Hey, board game enthusiast. I'm Luke, and today I'm joined by my partner in crime, Ethan.
You ready to delve into the desert, Luke?
You know it. Today we're taking a trip back to review the classic Dune from 1979.
The spice must flow, and so must the honest opinions.
It set the stage for a ton of mechanics in modern games. Area control, hidden treachery, alliances that get shattered faster than a freighter in a sandworm attack. You know, fun stuff.
But here's the burning question. Does Frank Herbert's 1979 board game adaptation hold up to modern board games?
Plus, for real fans, does it still capture the true essence from the original book?
Well, we'll let you know soon. We're about to dissect it for everything it's got. Gameplay, replay value, and their gorgeous, or not so gorgeous, general aesthetics.
If you're in a complex strategy, shifting alliances, and the thrill of galactic conquests, or even if you just love betraying your friends.
Know what you did.
Please.
Give me one good reason why I shouldn't fire you right here on the spot. I have excellent sales numbers. Not good enough. I'll do anything.
You won't want to miss this review.
Does this board game still belong on your board game shelf? Get ready to go full Fremen because we're going to get spicy.
Alright, buddy, let's talk about the gameplay mechanics. How exactly did you feel they intertwined with the game? Do you feel like the rules were easy to understand? What is your opinion on the matter?
I feel like you were accurately submersed into the Dune universe for sure. It was very tricky, lots of rules, everyone's got their own unique powers, and felt a lot like the movie did.
I agree with that. You were definitely immersed into the game when you were playing. You played the Bene Gesserit.
Yes.
Who did I play as? The Emperor, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Emperor. Yes. And each faction has their own unique abilities. Everyone is different. So learning the mechanics of the game are very important.
Yeah.
That being said, there's a lot going on when you're playing. On a complexity scale, this game is somewhere between basic strategy and designing your own spice harvester for me.
I will say, though, that we did get the hang of things by round one, early round two. I mean, once you get past those first rounds within a round, you start to get an idea of how things are working and what do I do or how do I use these powers.
And to clarify, one round could last, 15, 20 minutes?
Yes. The same as they beat.
They are long. We played by the 2019 rules with only 10 rounds. Whereas in the 1979 version, I believe there are 15 rounds.
Yeah.
And you kind of hit the nail on the head there. After going through it, all the rounds are similar. You just repeat. But the rounds are so long, they're going to be different every time.
Yes, as well as with the changing map and things that can happen on the board, nothing is ever stale in the game. So I will say you will never be bored.
You have to watch out for the freaking sandstorm that's trying to swallow you the entire time. And
as well as the other 5 teams that are surrounding you at any moment.
Yes, that's exactly what I was about to say. You have to be on the defensive the entire time of the game. Would you say they were enjoyable?
Yeah, it was an enjoyable game, and I would even say that replayability is actually very high due to the 6 different factions that you can be. So if you play a different person every game, your gameplay is going to be wildly different than the first time you played.
And what did you think of the balance between strategy and luck? Is it a nice balance? Does it lean more toward a certain way? What do you think?
I think strategy is a big thing because you have so many moving pieces, powers, and rules just surrounding you at any moment. But luck for needing your teammates not to screw you over at any moment or surround you or not getting attacked by 2 guys or hidden alliances and stuff like that. So it's a fair balance between both. And like I said, it'll be different every time you play.
That's another thing. I had 2 strategies to win. One was to team up with you. The Bene Gesserit can predict who will win. And if they predict correctly who will win on what round, then the Bene Gesserit win. And Ethan predicted me to win on round, 6?
I think it was 5. It might have been 5, yeah.
Okay. You could buy information from people.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought the information on who he predicted to win. So we teamed up, and we had the perfect strategy. I mean, it was perfect, dude. And then Caleb got lucky, and then Tanner ganged up on us. And it
all fell apart, those hidden alliances.
It did. So on a scale 1 to 10, how would you rate the gameplay mechanics in the game and how they work together?
I'll give the gameplay and mechanics an 8 out of 10. I would say a 10 out of 10 just for all the rules and the powers and the differences like that you can have happen to your team during the game. But I will dial it back a point or two due to the complexity of all of it, because it will take you a moment to learn, but once you start playing, you will love the game for sure.
Yes, this game is very strategic, and
Nice.
there's so many different ways to win, even
Yeah.
if you play as the same character. And each faction, like I said, has their own unique abilities. Like every time we bought, what was it, not weapons, but
Those equipments at the beginning.
equipments. Me as the Emperor, I get all the winning bids. So that's just one strategy. I'm constantly getting money. What was some of your unique abilities?
Every time someone called in troops, I got to call in one troop for every one troop they did. So by the end of the game, I had all of my soldiers on the board. So yeah, it just goes to show how different each faction is for sure.
After playing this, I understand why the Bene Gesserit want to control the universe. This amount of chaos cannot be allowed to exist. And I'm going to give it an 8 as well. So you average that out, buddy? That's a perfect 8, right?
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, so next we're going to touch up on replayability. Does this game feel fresh each time it's played?
I will say that while fresh might not be the right word due to some of the dated, artwork and stuff like that, it is a very nice vintage feel to it. And I could easily see myself returning to that Dune world from 1975 just to, pick a different team and try and win and cooperate with different players on the second, third, and fourth playthroughs.
I don't believe there are expansions
Because there was so much stuff in it. Yeah.
Now, for the I keep saying 2019. That's when the movie came out.
2018.
I believe the updated board game came out 2019, because the movie came out in 2021, 2020.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am right.
You're right, yeah.
So there are some expansions for that version, the 2019, that offers new factions. And I believe maybe a map? A space map? I don't know. We're discussing the 79 version, right? That's not our problem. For this one, no expansions. You get what you get.
But there's tons in the box.
Touch upon, I know we've talked about it a little bit, some of the different strategies for the other factions and how it makes it replayable.
Yeah. So, the Fremen, some of the main characters of the game, they win simply by existing to the last round. And so all they have to do is just survive. The different factions, such as like the spice traders, and then you had what were some of the other factions? The Bene Gesserit, the Emperor, and the Harkonnens.
The Harkonnens.
Yeah, the traders.
However you say it.
But there were lots of different ways to win that were specific to each faction. So, if you're looking for new, fresh ways or a new board game to play, just play Dune again and choose a different faction. Make everyone choose a different faction.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it as replayable?
I would honestly give this a 10 out of 10 for replayability. The map changes every game. You can be a different faction. There's different powers. It'll feel fresh every time you return to it, as long as, the people you're playing with have the same state of mind.
That's fair. I'm going to give it a 9 because it is on the same map.
Yeah,
and
that's
it
fair.
is with the same factions, but everything's... You're not going to get the same game ever. Different strategies every time. Next, let's touch up on player interaction. How do you feel the cooperative versus competitive go against each other? Which one wins out? What are your opinions on it?
It's very mixed bag there. It is extremely competitive. We had 5 people at the beginning, ended with 4 people because we knocked one of the guys out. And I switched alliances about 2 or 3 times in that game. So very competitive. But like I said, with the alliances, also a lot of cohesion and working with each other. So it really just depends on what mindset you go into the game with, whether you're going to be a bully, an antagonist, or going to try and peacefully win. You can do all of the above.
So I have one of the questions on here. Is the player interaction friendly? Is it positive or is it negative?
Both. 100% both. I was slaughtered. I was doing the slaughtering. I was fighting on the battlefield with my brother and then fighting against my brother in the same breath. So, again, really, it's just whatever you and the teammates make it.
Does this game work well with different player counts? So, for instance, if we played 3 players versus playing with 6 players.
It would be a lot more peaceful with 3 players. Wouldn't have to constantly be watching my back as compared to the 6 players where, in a 6-team strategy, there could be 3 teams of 2, 2 teams of 3. There's alliances that are flying left and right. When in a smaller board game like setting with Dune, it would be easier to be able to watch my back.
Let's see what this game says. It says, I believe it's 3 to somewhere on here. 2 to 6, I think is what it said. This game is definitely not 2 players.
I would not want to play it with 2 players. It'd be very long, very boring.
Even with 3, I really wouldn't want to play it. I would say starting at 4 is when it gets interesting. You can play it with 3.
Yeah.
4 is when it gets interesting. 6 is when it would be fun.
6 is when it'd
and
be
when
crazy.
I say fun, in D&D terms, chaotic evil. It's just a lot going on. And this is very much a North American game. This is not a Eurocentric game. We had some friends that felt like they were getting knocked out kind of early because I felt like me and Ethan were doing really, really good early. And that's why we felt like we were going to win. And people started complaining. And like you said, one guy had to leave. He got swallowed by the Shai-Hulud.
The Shai-Hulud.
The 2 other guys that played, they felt like they were getting knocked out. One just felt completely lost.
Yeah.
And then the guy that felt like he was getting knocked out actually came back and nearly won the game. And then the guy that felt completely lost actually ended up winning the game.
It's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah. He was the Fremen, and the way the Fremen win is if no one takes over the planet. So that's how he won. And let me tell you, he did not know what he was doing. That's the luck aspect of the game. So, on player interaction, how would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'm going to give this one a 10 as well. You have to constantly be a diplomat. You've got to be on your alliances. You've got to be declaring war. You've got to have your intentions both out in front and hidden at the same time. It's constantly moving all the time.
Player interaction for me is going to be I'm probably going to give it a 7.5.
Not bad.
Because there were some people who did feel like they were getting beat and left out. However, if you truly get into it, you do have to constantly be looking at your allies, people across the map from you, because you don't know what's going to happen. So, for me, I'm going to give it a 7.5. Next, we have the art components. Is the game visually appealing to you? Cards visually appealing? Are the components visually appealing? What is your opinion?
As a huge Star Wars nerd, whenever I was a kid, I used to have those dictionaries, and they would have every character both drawn and a picture of them if they existed. This game really threw me back into that retro, vintage feel. All of the pictures are drawn. They look like comic book art. It's really neat. My only drawback from that is that your soldiers are simple little circles. They're just colored circles to match your faction's color. So while there are some really beautiful set designs, like the board game itself is in a circle, there's a moving sand dial that moves around. All of the character cards and the generals and stuff like that are super pretty. It's gorgeous. It's beautifully artwork and all of that stuff in the game. But my drawback is that the soldier miniatures, discs, whatever, were very bland and almost a little boring. So I'm going to go with about a 7.5 on the artwork for this game.
I was amazed at how well the components mesh together. Everything just looks good.
Yeah.
The card similarities between each faction, they each have their own design, but then they have their color and then the characters' faces and stuff on them. And then you have the soldiers that are just dots of your color.
Literally just dots.
I don't know what happened there.
They ran out of creative juice, I think.
I guess so, and it's weird because in the 2019 version, I believe the pieces are a lot more creative looking. I don't compare these two pieces. Look at this, guys.
Yeah.
Look at this. Tell me
It's an
why.
outrage.
Tell me why. But yeah, so I mean, that I don't know what happened. And another thing is the cards. The cards were really small and basic, but yet they're just I don't know. They're just visually appealing to me. The
The drawings are really cool.
And the map, it had, like you said, that 70s style to it, that 70s sci-fi. For me, I'm going to give it a 9, buddy.
Sweet. Yeah.
The dots were not enough to dissuade me. Next up, we have the setup and playtime.
The playtime for this game is so long that you will begin the game as Paul Atreides and end it as God Emperor Leto II.
You, you didn't even give me any time, buddy, to let the questions flow. You just,
No.
That just
The
gives everyone a
playtime.
hint at what our opinions are of the setup and playtime.
The setup was mildly easy. I mean, all you had to do was write down the trader cards for each player. Like we say, there's so many rules to go into this game. And then really just get your equipment cards in order, have your soldiers ready to go. Setup, extremely easy. Playtime, depending on the amount of players you're playing with, is abysmal. It will take you forever to play this game the first time, whether you're getting used to the rules or the setup or just like the vast sprawl of Arrakis, because the board game may look small. There's a lot going on. There's many places that you can move, and there's a lot to do.
Let's see. I do want to touch up on the setup a little bit. The setup is easy, yes, but keeping up with the pieces can be a little complex.
Just have a big table.
Do what?
Have a really big table.
Yes, you definitely need a really big table, and you can't let other people see your stuff, so you don't want people near you. So, Ethan, did this game align with your expectations for playtime? when we set out on this adventure, and we watched the entire series of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit all playing in the background, and we
were done with round one.
So, did it match your expectations? Did you think it would take this long?
No, not at all. And that was a little warning that we threw in on the playthrough as well. This game will take a minute. You can throw on a movie in the background. You can make a pizza. You can eat dinner. This is one that you and the people playing this game with you will be camping out for sure.
Watch one of those YouTube videos on how to become a millionaire and then become a millionaire by the time this game's over.
Absolutely.
In all seriousness, this game probably is like 3 hours it took us. And the more people you have, of course, the longer the game is, because you go through rounds. So the more people you add in, it will be longer. Can this game be paused and saved for later? What do you think of that? Like, if you were to sit down and stop, would you be able to?
Yeah. I mean, as long as you're hiding some of the things that you've got to keep secret, you could definitely revisit this game at another time.
You don't really have to remember a whole lot if you were just to stop and play later. I mean, you could just look at the board and kind of remember what's going on. So setup and playtime on a scale 1 to 10, what do you give it?
I give it a 6. The setup, in my opinion, wasn't too bad, but the playthrough was just dredgingly long, for sure.
I'm going to give it a 4.
Gotcha.
I feel like some of it is long when it doesn't need to be. I think the newer version addresses some of these issues. Our last topic of the day, my friend, is the value for the money. Can we justify buying games like this on eBay for $56? Was it worth
I think
it?
so. This is not a game you're going to find in stores. This is a holy grail, a golden goose. This is a vintage, gem that we found on eBay somehow for about.
I feel like we got a good deal on it too.
Yeah, $56. It's out of print. No longer making these things. Like we've already said, there's been another iteration of it. They've updated it, but $56 for this really cool vintage sci-fi game that's basically the same as the new one. I think we got a really good deal for it.
Absolutely. I feel like, especially with the movie coming out,
Yeah.
a lot of nostalgia built up, and I feel like the game definitely could have been priced higher. And
Yeah.
like I said, this thing's a relic. It's the age of our parents.
Yeah.
Them Xers, man. Sorry to all you Xers out there. And I know we kind of touched back on this, but based on replayability, is it worth the price that we paid for it? If
Yeah.
it was just solely a new game.
Yeah. I would replay this game all the way up until at least I've played all the factions. So you can play this game at least 5 times and it won't be stale. But I can guarantee that it will be different no matter if you choose the same faction or not.
Yeah, like you said, this game, it's not going to get stale. And paying $56 for it if it were just a new game,
Yeah,
I would pay that. Just it is very replayable.
for sure.
So, based on value for money, what are you going to give it, sir?
Value for money, for what we got it, I'll give it a 10. It is a gem.
Absolutely. I'm gonna agree with you on that one, man. So, drum roll, please. Based on our scores, I'm actually kind of shocked at we didn't rate this higher, but we
Higher
gave
or
it
lower?
8.2.
8.2, not bad.
That's still pretty high.
If I made an 82 on an exam, I'd be pretty proud of it.
This game still holds up to the test of time, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, the 2019 board game for Dune is about the exact same. It's just shorter and easier to play. So yeah, I think it stands up really well.
All right, hope we answered all your questions, guys. Make sure to like, leave a comment, and turn that notification bell on for subscription so you can win a chance at a free game.
And don't forget, if you have any more questions about the game, we will answer them in the comments. So feel free to leave us something.